Subways can be considered to be spooky places. Let's face it, we're talking about underground tunnels that no one goes into except for trains and the maintenance guys that keep things running. But sometimes, some strange and creepy stuff can be found inside these tunnels and the cars themselves with no explanation. So, without further ado, let's check out the 5 strangest things found in subways. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Dead shark. Out of all the things you could find in a subway train, this has to be the weirdest. A passenger who was on the train smelled something fishy, pardon the pun, and obviously smelled something a bit rotten, like a dead fish, or at least a dead something. Hoping that it wasn't a deceased passenger, the passenger reported the unknown smelly thing to the train conductor. Not knowing what they were facing, the car was evacuated only to find there was a dead shark lying underneath the row of seats in the car. How it got there, no one knows. Metropolitan Transit Authority of New York City confirmed to some news sources, obviously bored and hungry for some bizarre stories, that the conductor of a Queens-bound N train was alerted to the situation around 12:30 a.m. The train was evacuated at the Queensboro Plaza stop. When it got to the end of the line, the conductor put the creature in a garbage bag and put it in the trash. No shark sandwiches here. Once it was determined that the car was clean enough, the train went back into service. MTA spokesman Kevin Ortiz told one news source, "Looks like a good promo for Shark Week on the Discovery Channel." The Discovery Channel didn't like that though, and denied any sort of smelly shark stunt that would lead to the popularity of their series. In fact, they were actually saddened by the news since these guys are all about the preservation and protection of the species. The shark wasn't very big and only measured about 4 feet long. Pigeons and even an opossum have made their way onto the trains before, but never a shark, transit officials have said. However, despite all this stuff, it appears that the meme community got their hands on the shark. The shark quickly drew a crowd, as entering subway riders began to photograph and pose with the shark, even adding a subway fare card, soft drinks can, and a cigarette to the supine shark as props. Someone else thought the shark was a plush toy, but when they saw the teeth, they knew it was for real. No one knows where the shark came from, but there was blood on its mouth as though it had been recently caught. So if someone had caught this shark, what made them decide to leave it in a train car? It seems as though some mysteries, such as this one, are better left unsolved. Number 4. Snake found in a trash can. Snakes can be found everywhere. These creepy crawlers can get in places where you would think it's impossible. But sometimes, sharks are found not only in strange places, but under weird circumstances. No, this isn't snakes on a plane, but snake found near a train. Boo. Shut up. Enter the case of the abandoned ball python. The story begins with the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority train station in Philadelphia. Apparently, someone left a live ball python in the trash can. It was discovered by someone passing by at 4:30 in the morning on Convention Avenue. The sad thing about this story is that the person who found the snake said it was alive. However, by the time that the animal control officers got there, the poor creature had died. The snake was found coiled up inside of a brown paper bag. Ed Fritz, Director of Operations for the Animal Care and Control Team of Philadelphia, said Animal Control could not confirm whether the snake had been alive at the time it was discovered, but did say that the snake was dead when it arrived at a shelter. Regardless, a sizable snake is certainly not what you'd expect to find when you go rifling through garbage. Hey, some of us still need to collect bottles and cans to make ends meet, even metaphorically. In October, a snake on a SEPTA bus panicked passengers, prompting an emergency evacuation in West Philadelphia, born and raised. The 4-foot boa constrictor, a passenger's pet, escaped on the Route 52 bus. Snakes are escape artists, by the way. And a SEPTA mechanic had to dismantle a seat to enable a gloved transit officer to retrieve it. Apparently, it had people who didn't know that this snake, being a constrictor, is mostly harmless, unless it's 50 feet long. Passengers were climbing the walls and panicked as if the snake was predatory and poisonous. Now, if you decide that your snake needs to go on a train ride with you, it's not illegal. SEPTA policy allows riders to bring service animals or small contained pets onto buses or trains. Contained is the key word here. It's probably not a good idea to get on the train with your 4-foot snake without it being in a cage or carrying bag, in case it decides to get loose on you and go for a joyride on its own. It's also not known if a snake qualifies as a service animal, but it would make for one hell of a story. Comments about that are welcome. Number 3. Crabs at train station in England. This is a fun story for many reasons. It's also a very bizarre occurrence that probably had a few people freaked out and others thinking about a free dinner, which was probably the whole idea behind the giant bag of crabs which split open on a metro train at Gateshead Metro Station on the Tyne and Wear Metro, serving the town of Gateshead, England. Someone went crab hunting and decided to take a big old bag of live crabs onto the train. However, when the bag split open, the fun began, or in some people's cases, pure terror. According to Metro bosses, a passenger was carrying the crustaceans in a plastic bag, which then split open. Apparently, the passenger ended up dropping the bag, which is why it split open in the first place, even though we had our own ideas that the crabs had planned an escape and used their claws to fight their way to freedom. Whatever the story was, the passenger that lost the crabs decided that they better pretend they had nothing to do with it and get out of the station before someone found out. They didn't even try to catch any of the escapees and left the station. No one knows who it was. Confused passengers looked on in amusement as some of the crabs appeared to try and get back on the train after being removed. Apparently, they didn't want off at that station. They're not your average public transport customer, but these crabs didn't seem to care what anyone thought, as tens of them attempted to board a train. Some smart people suggested the crabs were trying to catch the train back to the coast. However, no one rides for free, and the cleaner was called to take care of the mess. We're not kidding about that name. In all of the stories that are online, it simply says the cleaner came and cleaned up the crabs trying to get back on the train. Could this be Steven Seagal's other job? There was a short delay and then the cleaner removed the crabs from the platform. Some publications made it sound like there were millions of crabs and called it one of the most bizarre cleanup jobs in locomotive history. Number 2. Raccoon on a train in Toronto. Everyone loves a trash panda, right? These furry little bandits are always looking for a handout when it comes to food. But this time around, a raccoon decided that it needed a ride somewhere. So what should you do if you're the conductor of a Toronto GO train? Well, the only thing you can do, which is reserve an entire car for just one passenger. Passengers boarding the 7:15 Lakeshore West train at Union Station heard some strange squealing and discovered a large raccoon curled up under a seat, getting a nap before making his long journey to wherever it was headed. Metrolink spokesperson Anne-Marie Aiken said personnel opted not to remove the unpaid passenger at Union since calling Toronto Animal Services would have caused a significant delay. Instead, they isolated the single car, loaded passengers aboard the rest of the train, and departed. GO staff, or is it GO? It's capitalized. I'm gonna keep going with GO. GO staff called ahead and had Burlington Animal Services waiting when the train reached the end of the line. The guest was removed without incident, which is really the bizarre part of this story because raccoons can generally be mean and feisty. However, Aiken says their guest didn't show any signs of distemper or hostility, nor did he do any apparent damage or leave any gifts on the coach, if you know what we mean. Nonetheless, his private coach was removed from the train for a special cleaning. We're actually surprised that the coach wasn't torn to shreds, as these guys can do a number on just about anything they're in, and have been known to make holes in walls, chew through wooden doors, and try to eat anything they see, whether it's tasty or not. The furry little freeloader ended up having an hour-long nap on the journey. No one knows how or why the raccoon decided to get on the train. Number 1. Man tried to board train with pony in Wrexham. This last one sneaks onto our list of 5, just like it tried to sneak onto that train. Well, it did have help from its owner, and this is definitely one for the books. The story begins with a man and his pony. A shocked railway staff watched as the man tried to get on the train at Wrexham General Station in the UK with the white pony in tow. The unnamed man and the horse with no name, anyone Anyone see what we did there? Approached the ticket office in Wrexham and asked to buy 2 tickets for the 1902 service to Holyhead. 1 ticket for him and the other for his horse. However, his request was denied, but not without some trouble, with the office worker telling the man horses were not allowed on the rail network. So uptight. The man reportedly told the ticket booth, "I know the law," in a rather brusque and harsh response that you would expect of an old-time prospector. Well, someone here is right and someone is wrong. Obviously disgruntled, the man walked away and got into an elevator. That's right, he got into the elevator, or lift, with the pony, and went across the bridge and over the train tracks to the northbound platform, possibly to try and see if he could try his luck with somebody else. The man, later identified in some media as a traveler, quite descriptive, had previously tried to sell his pony at a local pub for about £200. From the looks of things, no one wanted to buy the poor creature, so it was time to find another way home. Of course, local animal control had to get involved and were looking for the man to make sure the horse wasn't in danger. Meanwhile, it later emerged the man and pony turned up at the accident and emergency unit at Wrexham Maylor Hospital, asking for treatment for the animal from the doctor. And for those who are curious about whether horses or ponies are actually allowed on trains, the answer is no. Still, it's a lot of fun to see what people are willing to try. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, The Brilliant, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so make sure you go check that out, as well as all of